What do you get when you combine razor-sharp wit, unapologetic sexuality, and a defiant spirit in an era of rigid morality? You get Mae West, the woman who made censors sweat, audiences swoon, and history books blush. But who was the real Mae behind the famous one-liners and sultry looks? And how did a girl from Brooklyn become one of the most controversial and celebrated figures in entertainment history? Buckle up, darling, we're about to find out. Early life and vaudeville. She was born Mary Jane West in Brooklyn on August 17, 1893. Her father, John West, was a boxer known as Battlin' Jack. Her mother, Matilda Delker, worked as a corset model. The family lived in a working-class neighborhood where young Mae quickly developed a taste for the spotlight. At just 5 years old, Mae performed on stage for the first time. It was an amateur night at Hal Clarendon's Theater in Brooklyn. She sang "Maybe Your Man Loves You" and won first prize. The audience was smitten with the precocious child. By age 7, Mae was regularly performing in local vaudeville shows under the name Baby Mae. Her mother, recognizing her daughter's talent, made her costumes often in pink, a color that would become Mae's signature. In 1901, at the tender age of 8, Mae appeared on Broadway for the first time in a show called Sometime. Though it ran for just 1 week, it was a crucial stepping stone for the budding performer. 1907 marked a significant year for Mae. Now 14, she joined Hal Clarendon's stock company full-time. This experience proved invaluable, as it was here that she truly honed her comedic skills and began to develop her unique style. Mae soon began touring with larger vaudeville shows, including the famous Ziegfeld Follies. Her act was a refreshing mix of bold humor and clever wordplay, which audiences found both novel and exciting. During these formative years, Mae experimented with different stage personas. She created an act called Baby Vamp, an early version of the sultry, confident image she'd later be known for. In 1911, Mae added a new dance to her repertoire, the shimmy. It was controversial and garnered her plenty of attention, exactly what the young performer wanted. As she performed more, Mae's quick wit became legendary. When someone commented on her figure, she'd retort, "I'm no model, lady. A model's just an imitation of the real thing." This kind of snappy comeback would become her trademark. By 1910, at 17, Mae was a vaudeville veteran. She'd performed all over the country, refining her act and building a reputation. Looking back on this time, Mae would later quip, "I've been in more laps than a napkin." It was this kind of clever, suggestive humor that would soon make her famous. Broadway debut and first controversies. She made her Broadway debut in 1911 with A La Broadway. The show wasn't a hit, but West was undeterred. Over the next decade, she alternated between vaudeville circuits and Broadway productions, constantly refining her performances and honing her craft. In 1918, at age 25, West took a significant step in her career by starting to write her own material. Her first attempt was a play called Sex and Consequence. Although it didn't get produced, it marked the beginning of her career as a writer, a role she'd embrace with gusto in the years to come. 1926 proved to be a turning point in West's career. She wrote, produced, and starred in a play simply titled Sex. It opened on April 26th at Daly's 63rd Street Theater in New York, immediately causing a stir in the theater world. Sex told the story of Margie Lamont, a Montreal prostitute. West portrayed her without apology, a bold move for the time. Critics were sharply divided. Some applauded the play's boldness, while others condemned it as vulgar and morally reprehensible. Despite the mixed reviews, Sex was a commercial success. It ran for 375 performances over 41 weeks, attracting large audiences night after night. However, this popularity also attracted unwanted attention from the authorities. On February 9, 1927, the police raided the theater. West and the entire cast were arrested on charges of corrupting the morals of youth. The subsequent trial became a media sensation, with her name splashed across headlines nationwide. The court found West guilty. She received a sentence of 10 days in jail and a $500 fine. Never one to miss an opportunity for publicity, she turned her jail time into a media event. She served 8 days on Welfare Island, now Roosevelt Island, using her cell as an impromptu press room to give interviews. Upon her release, West quipped, "I enjoyed my stay, but I prefer a room with a better view." This comment further cemented her reputation for wit and audacity. The controversy catapulted her to national fame. She quickly wrote another play, The Drag, which dealt with homosexuality. It was deemed too controversial for New York and was banned before it could open. Undeterred, West continued writing. In 1928, she created Diamond Lil, which became her biggest hit yet. It ran for 323 performances, and the character of Diamond Lil became her signature role, one she would revisit throughout her career. By the end of the 1920s, Mae West was a bona fide Broadway star. She was known for being scandalous, sexy, and witty, a combination that would serve her well in the next phase of her career. Hollywood calling. In 1932, Paramount Pictures invited Mae West to Hollywood. At 39, she was older than the typical newcomer, but her Broadway success had caught their attention. Her first film role was a small part in Night After Night, starring George Raft. Despite her limited screen time, West made a big impression. In one scene, a hat-check girl comments on her jewelry, "Goodness, what beautiful diamonds." She responded with a line that would become an instant classic, "Goodness had nothing to do with it, dearie." Impressed by her performance, Paramount quickly promoted West to leading lady status. In 1933, she starred in She Done Him Wrong, based on her play Diamond Lil. The film paired her with a young Cary Grant, who was just beginning his own illustrious career. As Lady Lou, West delivered memorable lines that would become part of film history. "When I'm good, I'm very good, but when I'm bad, I'm better," became particularly popular. The film was a huge success, costing $200,000 to make but grossing $2 million, a fortune during the Great Depression. West's second film of 1933, I'm No Angel, reunited her with Cary Grant. It was another box office hit. She wrote the screenplay herself, including quips like, "It's not the men in my life that count, it's the life in my men." These films established West's screen persona, a tough-talking, sexually confident woman who always got what she wanted. Her characters were unapologetic about their desires and always in control, a refreshing change from many female characters of the time. She adapted well to the demands of film. Her stage experience helped her use pauses, looks, and gestures effectively on screen, enhancing her trademark double entendres. She knew how to play with the camera, using her eyes and facial expressions to convey volumes. By the end of 1933, West was one of Hollywood's biggest stars and highest-paid actors. Her reported salary was $300,000 per film, an enormous sum at the time. She had successfully transitioned from Broadway to Hollywood, bringing her unique brand of humor and sexuality to a national audience. Censorship battles. The Motion Picture Production Code, also known as the Hays Code, tightened its grip on Hollywood in 1934. Mae West's brand of humor became a prime target for censors. The code aimed to clean up Hollywood's act, banning excessive and lustful kissing and suggestive postures, both of which were her stock in trade. West's next film, originally titled It Ain't No Sin, felt the heat of the new regulations. Censors forced a title change to Belle of the 90s. They also demanded script rewrites, cutting her racier lines and toning down her more suggestive scenes. Undeterred, she pushed back against the censors. She engaged in a cat-and-mouse game with them, finding clever ways to slip innuendo past their watchful eyes. Double entendres became her weapon of choice. She could deliver a seemingly innocent line with just the right inflection to make its true meaning clear to her audience. 1935 brought Goin' to Town, in which West played a former dance hall girl who inherited a fortune. The plot was tamer than her previous films, but her delivery still sizzled. When asked if she'd ever met a man who could make her happy, she quipped, "Sure, lots of times." The censorship battle intensified. West's scripts underwent multiple revisions before they could be approved for filming. She later recalled, "I used to get letters from censors. I'd send them back corrected for spelling and punctuation." This defiant attitude only endeared her more to her fans. Despite the restrictions, West's popularity soared. She became the second highest paid person in America, behind only William Randolph Hearst. Her salary reached $300,000 per picture, plus a percentage of profits, a testament to her box office draw. She found creative ways to work within the system. When dialogue failed her, she used costume and set design to convey sensuality. Her famous walk, a hip-swaying strut, became a signature move that needed no words to communicate her character's confidence and allure. The constant battles with censors took their toll on West's film production. She focused more on crafting the perfect innuendo, lines that sounded innocent but carried a naughty subtext. It was a delicate balance, but one that she mastered. By year's end, West had become a symbol of defiance against censorship. She famously stated, "I believe in censorship. I made a fortune out of it." It was true. The controversy only fueled her fame and appeal. Radio and stage return. She joined the world of radio in 1936, making a memorable appearance on The Edgar Bergen Show. She was cast as Eve in a Garden of Eden sketch, a role that seemed tame on paper. But West, known for her suggestive delivery, saw an opportunity to push boundaries once again. On December 12th, the show aired to 23 million listeners. West purred her lines, including, "Oh, Adam, you're divine," in a tone that made censors sweat. The reaction was swift and severe. NBC received over 1,000 angry calls within hours of the broadcast. The Federal Communications Commission, FCC, launched a swift investigation. NBC, fearing further backlash, took drastic action and banned her from their network. This Mae West incident prompted stricter radio censorship nationwide, showing that even in a new medium, West had the power to shake things up. Undeterred by the radio controversy, she returned to movies. Klondike Annie and Go West Young Man both hit theaters in 1936. Despite heavy censorship, they each grossed $2 million, proving that West's appeal remained strong. 1937 brought Every Day's a Holiday, a film that cost $1 million to produce but only made $600,000. Critics called it tired and predictable, leading some to question her box office draw. However, she wasn't about to let one underperforming film derail her career. Demonstrating her versatility, West declined a role in 1939's star-studded The Women. Instead, she turned her attention to a new project, Catherine Was Great, a play about Catherine the Great. She spent 18 months researching and writing the play, showing her dedication to her craft. Catherine Was Great premiered on Broadway in 1943. West, at 50, boldly played the 33-year-old Empress. Critics were divided, but the play was a commercial success, running for 191 shows and grossing $500,000. During World War II, West contributed to the war effort in her own inimitable style. She sold $2 million in war bonds, a significant sum at the time. She also entertained troops at Camp Pendleton, drawing crowds of 100,000, Vegas and television. She stormed into Las Vegas in 1944, setting up shop at the Last Frontier Hotel. At 51, she was reinventing herself once again. Her new act was pure West, with a twist. 6 muscle men flanked her on stage as she delivered zingers that left the audience in stitches. Opening night drew a star-studded crowd, including Clark Gable and Judy Garland. "I used to be Snow White, but I drifted," she quipped, and just like that, a new catchphrase was born. The casinos couldn't get enough of her. She was raking in $15,000 a week, and that was just the beginning. Television came calling in 1948. West made her small-screen debut on Texaco Star Theater. It was a brief appearance, just 3 minutes, but it was enough to get 30 million Americans talking. TV sales reportedly spiked in the following weeks. As the 50s rolled in, West was everywhere. One night she'd be in Vegas, the next she'd be trading barbs with the biggest names on TV. Her appearance on the Colgate Comedy Hour smashed viewing records, but she wasn't one to play by the rules. She insisted on writing her own material, much to the chagrin of network censors. The battles were legendary, but West always came out on top. 1954 saw her branching out into music. The fabulous Mae West hit the shelves, an album recorded in a whirlwind 2-day session. She crooned her way through Frankie and Johnny and A Guy What Takes His Time. The cover photo was so provocative it got temporarily banned in Boston. Naturally, sales soared. West returned to the silver screen in 1956 with The Heat's On. It was her first film in 13 years, and while it wasn't exactly a box office smash, critics couldn't stop talking about her scene-stealing turn as a burlesque queen. Word got out that she rewrote all her scenes without telling the director. Classic Mae. By 1957, West's Vegas act was the hottest ticket in town. She was holding court at the Sahara Hotel, performing 90-minute shows twice a night. The take? A cool $100,000 a week. Frank Sinatra became a regular, often catching both shows in one night. Her influence stretched far beyond the stage. Those custom-made platform shoes that added 8 inches to her 5 1-inch frame, they kicked off a nationwide fashion craze. Even Marilyn Monroe came knocking, seeking advice on how to craft the perfect stage persona. As the decade drew to a close, West had more than 1,500 Vegas shows under her belt. At 66, she wasn't just a performer, she was an institution. The swinging 60s comeback. At 67, she kicked off the new decade with Sextet, a stage play she wrote and starred in. It ran for 8 weeks in Los Angeles and 3 in Chicago, drawing full houses nightly. The play about a Hollywood sex symbol's honeymoon featured West's trademark double entendres and risque humor. It grossed over $200,000 during its run, proving that she could still draw a crowd. In 1961, she surprised fans by venturing into rock and roll. Her album, Way Out West, included her unique renditions of Twist and Shout and Santa Baby. The album cover, costing $20,000 to produce, showed West in a lavish cowgirl outfit complete with her famous wink. It sold 100,000 copies in its first month, reaching number 16 on the Billboard charts. West's autobiography, Goodness Had Nothing to Do with It, hit bookstores in 1964. Published by Prentice Hall, it became an instant bestseller, staying on the New York Times list for 10 weeks. The book sold over 500,000 copies in its first year, introducing a new generation to her wit and wisdom. In 1965, she guest starred on the popular TV show Mr. Ed. Her episode, Mae West Meets Mr. Ed, became the highest rated of the season, with 26 million viewers. Her quip to the flirtatious horse, "A man after my own heart and everything else," made headlines and reminded audiences of her unmatched comedic timing. At 73, she posed for renowned photographer Diane Arbus. The 3-hour photo shoot produced a series of striking black and white images. She changed outfits 5 times, including her iconic white gown and a daring leopard print ensemble. These photos would later be exhibited in galleries, cementing her status as a cultural icon. West's second rock album, Great Balls of Fire, was released in 1968. It featured her sultry take on contemporary hits, including a memorable version of the Beatles' Day Tripper. The album sold 75,000 copies and earned her a spot on American Bandstand, where she charmed a new generation of fans. 1969 marked West's return to film after a 26-year absence. She played Letitia Van Allen in the controversial Myra Breckinridge. Despite mixed reviews for the film, her performance was praised. Her $350,000 salary made her one of the highest-paid actresses over 70 in Hollywood history. By decade's end, 77-year-old West had successfully reinvented herself for a new generation. She was featured in Life magazine's Remarkable American Women issue, alongside figures like Gloria Steinem and Betty Friedan. Her philosophy, "You only live once, but if you do it right, once is enough," resonated widely. The quote appeared on over 100,000 posters sold in college bookstores across America, cementing West's status as a countercultural icon. Final film and autobiography. As the new decade dawned, Mae West, now in her late 70s, showed no signs of slowing down. She began work on Sextet, a film adaptation of her stage play. Undeterred by her advancing years, she insisted on playing Marlo Manners, a Hollywood sex symbol, despite pushing 80. Sextet finally premiered in 1978. Critics savaged the film but commended West's determination. At 85, she still delivered zingers like "I'm the girl who works at Paramount all day" and "Fox all night." In 1976, West made her final television appearance on The Dick Cavett Show. Discussing longevity, she wryly noted, "I keep myself busy with men, not food." Her wit was as sharp as ever, delighting the studio audience and viewers at home. In 1979, she mounted a final revival of her iconic Diamond Lil character in San Francisco. The show opened to packed houses with audiences eager to witness the living legend one last time. She cleverly adapted her act, weaving in references to disco and modern culture. "When I'm good, I'm very disco," she quipped, updating her famous line for a new era. Final lasting years. 1981 marked West's last public appearance. At 88, she attended the Mae West close-up exhibit at New York's Museum of Modern Art, showcasing her remarkable career. Though her mobility was limited, her spirit remained indomitable. In 1982, she fell in her Hollywood apartment. She recovered but rarely left home afterward, fueling public curiosity. Despite her seclusion, her influence continued to be felt throughout the entertainment industry. Despite her age, West started a new screenplay in 1984, at 91. The unfinished project showed her enduring creative spirit and refusal to rest on her laurels. When asked about her continued work, she famously replied, "You're never too old to become younger." West's 93rd birthday in 1986 sparked media interest. She declined interviews, but stars like Madonna and Dolly Parton publicly wished her well, demonstrating her lasting impact on popular culture. On November 22, 1987, Mae West passed away at 94. The cause was complications from a stroke she suffered 3 months earlier. She had been admitted to Good Samaritan Hospital in Los Angeles after the stroke in late August. News of her death spread globally, with the New York Times headline reading, "Mae West, epitome of wit and sex appeal, dies." West's funeral was a spectacle befitting her larger-than-life persona. As she had requested, 6 bodybuilders carried her coffin. Her tombstone in Brooklyn's Cypress Hills Cemetery simply reads, Mae West, 1893 to 1987, an understated finale for a woman who lived such an extraordinary life. In the end, Mae West lived up to her own famous quote, "You only live once, but if you do it right, once is enough."